This week in Retrospect, we travel back to 1991 when a lack of bin space concerns local grain farmers.
Local grain farmers may soon find themselves out of bin space if the current terminal strike in Vancouver and Thunder Bay is allowed to continue. The strike is putting a crimp in the system that farmers don't believe is fair.
There's never any real reason for a strike. As far as I'm concerned, these grain handlers and that are being highly overpaid for the amount of work that they have to do in a day. If they compared what they get out of the grain compared to what we get out of the grain, it's almost nothing.
Is this putting hardship on you at the home place, not being able to sell grain?
Well, we're still kind of going on last year's. This sort of thing will affect us more a year from now than it does now. But yes, it is affecting us.
Okay, how so?
Well, financially, everybody's cutting back. You'll see around the country this year there'll be no land work done, be very little fertilizing done. Chemicals sales will be down considerably, and it's just going to be a down thing all the way around, and it'll be an overload next spring if things do turn around a little bit.
Having these rail cars sit idle waiting for the terminals to resume business doesn't really affect today's cash flow for farmers, because farmers are still able to get a cash advance from their elevator agents for this year's harvest. However, elevator agents say the strike will plug up the grain pipeline, and that could cause a grain sales disaster.
It's not really affecting the cash flow because you can still come in and take out the Canadian Wheat Board cash advances, which will generate the income the farmer needs right now to pay his bills. What will happen is we'll end up losing sales at the coast, which is going to really affect us down the line, and if we can't move the grain now, it's going to put that much more strain on the rest of the year because you've only got so much time to move so much grain.
Do you think we'll lose export sales? Do you think our export markets would understand what's happening here, or do they look at that?
No, they don't. If we've got sales commitments and we can't supply the product, they go somewhere else to look for it. And once you lose a customer, you'll have a heck of a time getting them back.
Lost markets is what Saskatchewan's agriculture minister is worried about. Grant Devine says it's imperative that Canadian grain keeps moving to port and to our customers abroad.
They should be treated as an essential service. They should be working, they can negotiate. We've all had to freeze our salaries in difficult times. It's just important that everybody know that the country needs to have steadfast, steady development, but we just can't afford high raises, and we certainly can't afford to put whole provinces out of business as we go resolve some of the labor disputes. So they should be considered as an essential service, market the grain, and continue to negotiate.
However, farmers say if we don't see an end to the strike, and soon, even these lumbering harvest trucks will be forced to stop.
Next, we jump forward to 1996, where a collision incites conversation about traffic lights.
The collision happened at 40th Avenue and Highway 16 around 8 o'clock this morning by the Legion Ballpark. The RM of Britannia has been pushing for lights here for some time, mainly because grain trucks have trouble crossing the highway. It's been a concern of farmers even before their destination, the joint venture elevator, was constructed.
Actually, yeah, there was comments made before the elevator while it was being built of how they were going to get to it from the north.
Erna Wine says farmers often make comments about the busy intersection.
There's a lot of expressions made about it, but lights would be handy there. Possibly another route from the north somehow. Lights would be probably the quickest, the easiest, but there seems to be some opposition to that.
The RM of Britannia has also heard concerns. That's why Reeve Lloyd Andrews says in the long term they'd like to see Ring Road extended to join up with secondary Highway 303 by Heartland Livestock. But in the meantime, Andrews says they're going to try and garner support for immediate action on the installation of lights.
We're certainly going to work on it. We're going to take a new approach. We're going to get trucking companies involved and MLAs and probably a petition out there. And I think that our ratepayers and our municipalities support this town. It's the least they can do is kind of cooperate with us a little bit.
They've got this thing in their head that they want to take the fastest, quickest route at their own peril. And
Mo Aschenbrenner is a member of Lloydminster City Council. He's concerned about the impact the lights would have on the community.
It seems to be an axiom that the more lights and impedances you put on the highway, the sooner the bypass happens. And my sense is, do we put a lot of our highway businesses at risk because a few people want a set of lights and are determined to try and get a set of lights at a particular intersection?
Lloydminster RCMP say traffic lights would be a welcome addition.
We have had a number of accidents here, and it is due to people becoming impatient, waiting to cross the intersection. As for it being a higher rate of incidents of accidents, I would think not, generally speaking, because it's a busy roadway. Even at the intersections where we do have lights, occasionally there are accidents, and that is the case here as well. But I believe traffic lights would prevent some of those accidents that have been occurring here.
So are there going to be lights or not?
At this particular time, there isn't any planned lights at 44th Street and 40th Avenue. Perhaps in the future, but not at this time.
Sherry Lukens, NewsHour.
Finally, in the year 2002, we take a look at the impact of drought on the agricultural community.
This year's drought has had a huge impact on the agricultural community. Cattle producers short on feed have been forced to sell off their animals, and stunted crops have left little to harvest. For many, the effects will not only be felt this year, but for years to come. And that impact is being felt in towns like Vermilion.
We're just going to pray for the hope of our community.
As a member of a local church, I began to, think about other things besides business prosperity, and started to ask myself how we could be relevant to the community.
To show support and understanding, a multi-denominational gathering of churches was held Sunday, bringing together urban and rural residents and the business community.
Just show people that you're there, and that you're not hiding somewhere because you're a banker, or you're not hiding somewhere because you haven't been affected by the adversity, or hiding somewhere because you don't care what's happening. And basically I care what's happening.
We tend to run on, and especially in a drought, it's easy to get overcome with the difficulty of the situation. And if we stop long enough, we can see that there's always cause for hope.
There has always been a dynamic resilience in agriculture. It's famous for the next year country.
Peter Walsh chairs the Agricultural Sciences program at Lakeland College, and he says with some help, farmers will find a way to cope and bounce back.
We need some major tweaking in the systems, that's for sure. But producers have a way of surviving, and the ag industry has a way of surviving, and I don't think this is going to be any different. This is a severe challenge, certainly, and in this area in particular, but I believe that we'll rise up, meet the challenge.
Just being a community is what all of us really need, is to have that support when times aren't ideal. That's what we really need, is the support of our families and our community.
And that's all for this week in Retrospect.
Retrospect is brought to you by Webb's Machinery. Find New Holland products at Webb's Machinery, your dealer in Vermilion, Vegreville, Lamont, Wainwright, St. Paul, and Consort.